place. You will die for what you did that night.
If vengeance is the central theme of God of War, then those at the receiving end of Kratos' revenge must tremble at the mere reputation of the mighty Spartan. Yet the villains standing in the path of Kratos definitely hold their ground against him, as they themselves are extraordinary forces to reckon with. From legends such as Hercules to gods like Ares, each posed a formidable threat to the Spartans' path of vengeance, all leading to the ultimate villain himself, the king of the gods, Zeus.
They have so much history, and that history kind of unfolds in the horrible things that they do to each other.
I will tolerate your insolence no more!
Okay, so Dana, with the vast number of possible enemies within Greek mythology, how did you narrow down your choices and differentiate your enemies from the previous titles?
I'm gonna let everybody in on a little secret. I've seen this drawing that David did, and I don't know if he knows that anybody else has even seen this thing, of the cast of God of War monsters. It's like a napkin drawing.
It's like on the board.
Like,
Do you
it has a
remember
Gorgon on it, Cyclops, and that's it. That's all the characters you need. It's this bestiary of animals drawn on a napkin. No, I mean, there's a lot of good creatures out there. There's a lot of good characters in mythology. So it's that notion again of what do people expect out of mythology. So we obviously pick those A characters that maybe people have already seen already in the previous games, but we kind of put a new spin on them. We try to redesign them, not just because we want to be clever, but because we feel like if they don't offer something new each time you play these games, then you're just going to get bored of them. So we went back and we actually looked at our entire cast of characters that we used for Chains of Olympus. And I think even though we may have only brought over like 5 characters from the last game, we redid them all. And then obviously we added all new characters to the cast as well, which we're not going to divulge all of them. But everything is fresh. We try to look at it and go, how can we make this guy better?
All right, Stig, I want you to answer this question last. So the other 4 of you, why do you think Kratos kills himself?
That's a good question. I mean, to me, it's like at the end of 3, when Athena is demanding back her power, it's obviously like he's basically deciding that he's done being manipulated. Like what Corey was saying, it's like everybody's been just taking him on this ride and they're all lying to him and nobody's made his situation any better. And so I think he realizes at the end that if he can't save himself, that maybe he's just going to do a solid for humanity. So he's going to deny her that ability and by effect allowing mankind to basically, take it up for themselves. And so I think it's this cool kind of, I'll sacrifice myself for the greater good.
Well, I don't know. One of the things that I think rings true in the series and in all games is that at one point or the other, I think Kratos knows himself, even though Athena tells him and all that stuff, it almost seems like he knows that he'll never forgive himself. He won't. From the moment that that moment happens, with killing his family, killing his daughter, it's something he can never get back. He seeks it. He wants redemption. He wants forgiveness. Actually, he wants to forget more than he wants, forgiveness. And at one point or the other, I mean, we've explored it in our stories on a more personal level. He can't. It's just that he's doomed. He is, forever doomed. And I think, what you see actually in him killing himself is really the fact that he can't forgive himself. He'll never will.
Corey or David, do you have anything to add?
You go first.
Well, I mean, there's the smarmy answer. The smarmy answer is death in God of War is pretty cheap. He's already been dead a couple of times and crawled his way back out. So at this point, it's kind of like just taking a flight, somewhere. But from a story standpoint, I mean, God of War, the entire God of War story opens with him trying to kill himself. He clearly doesn't really care about dying, and once he's done what he came to do, which was get his revenge, maybe there's a sense of now I can finally go be with my wife and kid who are dead, and so maybe it was to be with them. I mean, I think the ending of 3. Was intentionally ambiguous. I mean, correct? I mean, I can't say I entirely understood the intent behind it. I got on Facebook immediately. It was like Pappy, who is the lead designer on 3. I'm like, what is this? Not in a bad way, but like explain to me what I'm, So I mean, it was a good ambiguousness, but for me, I kind of took it like he wanted to be with his wife and kid. He did what he came to do. And if Athena ends up kind of not getting what she wants and mankind gets what they want or what they ultimately have in the process, great. But he's basically done.
I think Kratos is kind of an accidentally altruistic character. I don't think that he has ever an intent. He never has intent to be altruistic. He never has intent to help mankind. So it was a little bit of a struggle for me to see that he's doing something to help mankind, making a conscious decision. It feels very awkward for him as a character. As far as why he killed himself, honestly, you kind of said it. Like, death means nothing in this world. You crawl out of Hades, and there's a whole life that goes on after you die. So you kind of get caught in this little loop of like, okay, he killed himself, but then he's going to still have to live with the fact that he killed his wife and child, just in another location, and he won't really be able to do anything except
There's been a
crawl
therapy
out.
down there.
Yeah. So honestly, I was a little confused by that, but I think maybe it is, like David said, it's an intentionally ambiguous concept at the end. I would say he did it for ratings.
Isn't that true of anything in Hollywood?
Yeah.
All right, so Stig, give us our answer. Did he?
He did it for ratings.
He did it for ratings.
Yes, I got it right.
You know what? Everybody was pretty much right. Corey's right. Kratos didn't do it for mankind. That was kind of a byproduct of him getting what he really wanted. And all he ever wanted was to die and be back with his family, hopefully. I mean, who knows where they are right now? But everything has changed, and maybe that's the only thing that he's got left. I mean, he's a pretty selfish guy, and I don't know if he really wants to be with his family for any good reasons other than to kind of say that he righted the wrong that he did to himself. So.
And to them.
Right, exactly. But I mean, I don't even know if it really mattered to him what happened to them as much as what he did to himself by killing them. He's a very selfish guy.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons, and again, I'll take 10% of the credit, but I'll give you 90% of the credit of the hug in God of War 1, which to me is one of the very few instances in video games, certainly mainstream video games, where I go, okay, you know what? You can mix emotion and gameplay together, where you actually see and get to play a hint that, okay, here's some depth to this guy. He when he hugs his wife and kid, and it's a play mechanic, I just thought that was the greatest thing in the world. To me, when you say he's selfish, he is, but I think moments like that, which are very few and far between, do show him as someone that underneath all of this, is a guy who loves his kid, a guy who loves his wife, and I thought that was
Ghost
great.
of Sparta has a lot of that.
I haven't seen it.
A lot of that. It's badass. I swear.
Now, Ruse kind of touched on this already, but do you guys believe that Kratos has finally forgiven himself?
No.
No.
I don't think he ever could. I think that's the fire that burns inside of him, you know? I think that's what drives him forward. And I honestly think if he went to Elysium and saw his family, I personally don't feel that he could face them.
Well, I think it's cool too that if he's such a vengeful character that it's even like an internal vengeance. Like he won't forgive anybody who's wronged him, including himself. So if he's gonna kill himself, that doesn't seem like someone who's forgiven themselves. You would probably be like, okay, I forgive what I've done. I'm gonna live with it, and I've come to terms with it.
Stig, was there ever a moment where you wanted to answer that question while directing the game?
Well, I think there's a whole gameplay sequence where we do that right before we go into the first-person kill with Zeus. I mean, you walk through his steps, and he finds his wife and daughter, and then he finds Athena, and he basically comes to terms to a certain extent with himself, but does it mean that he forgives himself ultimately? I think that's still in question. I mean, there's more things that we could do with it, and I don't really want to get into that right now because maybe potentially that's something we might see in the future.
That sounds like there's a sequel coming. That sounds like God of War 4 might be coming soon.
There it is, announced.
Key to his battle with Zeus is the Blade of Olympus, a massive sword that is somewhat of a reoccurring character itself. But that wasn't the only weapon Kratos had in his arsenal throughout this saga.